What's up guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Jay and today we're going to find out what would happen if we added Celtic and Rangers to the English Premier League. Celtic and Rangers are undoubtedly the most successful teams in Scotland. Between them, they have won a staggering 227 trophies throughout their history. But how would the old firm cope with life in the English Premier League? Let's take a look. So first up, we have headed over to Celtic to have a look at their team. Now, as we can see from their club background, they were founded in 1888, so a very old club. They've also got a huge amount of honours to their name, winning the UEFA Champions League in 1967, a ridiculous amount of Scottish Premierships, as well as William Hill Scottish Cups, Betfred Cups, Glasgow Cup, the list goes on and on. They have won everything possible in Scotland. However, heading over to the squad depth screen, I do have to wonder if maybe they will struggle in the Premier League, if only because the lack of ability overall in their squad. You can see here they've got two players that are rated at a 4-star ability. That is Callum McGregor and James Forrest. Callum McGregor is a centre midfielder, best suited to a deep lying playmaker role or a central midfielder role. He can also play as Mazzala pretty well, advanced playmaker. But if you have a look at his attributes, there's nothing too outstanding here for his role. He's got very good vision, work rate and first touch as well. Passing is decent at 15, but the rest of it isn't anything too outstanding. James Forrest, best suited as either an attacking right midfielder or just straight up right midfielder. Again, they're not too bad attributes. He's got some decent dribbling, some decent crossing and blistering pace and acceleration by the looks of that as well. If we have a look at their actual squad depth screen, working from the back here, we've got Joe Hart as their best goalkeeper. Obviously very good once upon a time, but also couldn't get much of a look in at Burnley, not playing at all last season according to this, and he's now over at Celtic and expected to play at this level in the Premier League again. We've got to wonder if he can defend that back line like he used to. We've also got the problem here of their best left back being Callum McGregor, who is, as we've highlighted, their best player in centre midfield. So we'd assume he'll be playing in centre midfield. We've then got Bolingoli, but he's probably best suited as a right midfielder. So this is very much going to depend what formation Celtic end up playing as well. They've then got their best right back in Josip Juranovic. But again, look at this. His current ability of 2.5 stars. Nothing very outstanding. Very, very determined. Very brave. Doesn't really have the technical ability to back that up. But let's have a look at their facilities quickly. So in terms of facilities on this screen, we can see that Celtic, quite a decent club really. They've got some good corporate facilities, excellent training facilities, decent, good academy coaching and exceptional youth recruitment. So maybe as we head into this save and simulate a bit further in the future, maybe they can bring in some good youth players. Have a look at their development centre quickly, and we can obviously see their best rated player in terms of potential ability, Karamoko Dembele. I'm sure some of you would have played with him before in Football Manager, and he is quite decent, but at the moment only considered to be a Sky Bet Championship level player, so maybe not ready at the moment. I have got some good players coming through. Luca Cannell here as well, looking like he could be a decent prospect for the future, but they're going to take a bit of time to come through the team. Let's have a look at Rangers now in that case. So here, having a look at the welcome screen for Rangers, we can see that they were founded in 1872 and much like Celtic have an absolute plethora of of club history. Got the European Cup Winners' Cup there in 1972. An equally ridiculous amount of premierships as well. We've got a Glasgow Cups coming out of the wazoo. We've got League Two, but I'm pretty sure that's because I replaced a couple of other teams with them. I don't think they've actually won League Two, but maybe they have. Maybe they were that good. They came and played in two championships that season. Who knows? We've got obviously a ridiculous amount of Betfred clubs there as well. Let's quickly pop through these screens and let's go have a look at their squad as well. Compared to the Celtic squad, I think maybe we have the same issue here at Rangers. Rangers aren't considered to have any 4-star ability players. They've got a huge amount of 3.5-star players. So maybe a bit more depth there compared to Celtic. Having a look at their best couple of players here, we've got Joe Aribo, who is a centre midfielder who can play quite a few different roles, but mainly a playmakery role. He has got an amazing first touch and good dribbling ability there. However, maybe his pass is letting him down a little bit to be an advanced playmaker or a deep line playmaker, so I'm not sure how well he will play. A bit of scope to improve for that guy there. But then we've also got guys like Alan McGregor, who at this point is their goalkeeper, but also 38. And how will he do in the Premier League? He's played for Rangers now. This will be his third season here even. We'll see how he gets on. We've also got Jermaine Defoe again, who's 37. He banged in some goals for them last season, which is quite good. But equally, the last time he played in the Premier League was for Bournemouth. He scored no goals there, and the season before that in the Premier League, he only scored 4. So maybe Jermaine Defoe might be on the way out for a Premier League spot. Working for the back here on the squad depth screen, like we did for Celtic. We've got previously mentioned Alan McGregor as their best goalkeeper at the age of 38. They have definitely got more depth in defence than Celtic, but again, my worry is how much quality there is within that back four that they'll be playing, however they choose to play it. Now we've got James Taverner here. Again, doesn't look like a bad prospect, but who knows how we'll fare in the Premier League. Stephen Davis here again, who's looks good. He's very spread out, evenly spread player, but again, he is 35, and will he cope with the pace in the Premier League? And then up front, they've got Alfredo Morales at the age of 24. Again, looks like he's got some good technical ability there and a good pressing forward, but we'll see how he fares in the Premier League. But having a quick look at their facilities as well, they've equally got exceptional youth recruitment. Apparently they're very good at recruiting youngsters in Scotland by the looks of it. Good academy coaching, great youth facilities, excellent training facilities. What I am interested to have a quick look at as well is the season preview. So here we are at the season preview page. We can see usual suspects here at the top: Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United, Chelsea. But the pundits have Rangers expected to finish in 11th place here, and Celtic to finish absolute dead bottom, which is very interesting because obviously these guys are undoubtedly the two best teams in Scotland, but apparently Celtic would be worse than the likes of Burnley, Brighton, everyone else. Even newly promoted Leeds are expected to far outweigh them here. Just for context as well, there is no Sheffield United and no Fulham in this version of the world of the save, because they have been replaced by Rangers and Celtic in order to keep a 20-team Premier League. Let's see how they get on. I'm going to jump a year into the future and we'll see how Celtic and Rangers get on in their first ever season in the English Premier League. Be right back. And we're back. So I've come back as the manager of Rangers so we can review their season, and I've already glimpsed the league table. it's not been a good time for either of our Scottish clubs in England, to be completely honest. But we'll start with Rangers and we'll go from there. Let's have a look first of all at their competition. They were expected by the board to finish mid-table. I believe the pundits had them at 11th as well. They actually finished in 17th place, 3 points outside the relegation zone. It's not been a great season. What's bizarre with that as well, having a look at it, is they've actually had some pretty good performances, really. I mean, Nathan Patterson is their top performer. He only actually played 2 games. You've then got Juan Fran, who is their 36-year-old right back. Again, second highest performer. Only played 9 games, however. But then we've got Alfredo Morales, who played 35 games this season. He played 30 games in the league. He scored 11 goals. He got an average rating of 7.27 in the league, which as their player up front, you would think they would have done slightly better than this. Another one who's played a lot of games here, Kamar Roof. He is 28. He played 35 games, almost the entire league season here. 13 goals, 2 assists, with an average rating of 7.18. So they've definitely got some players here that performed well, but I don't know. Let's go have a look at the schedule, I guess, and see what happened here. I mean, they started off with their friendlies here quite well, started playing with a 4-2-3-1 wide, and then moved over to a 4-4-2 halfway through the pre-season calendar as well, and they seem to have stuck with that 4-4-2 most of the way through. They opened up, oh look at that, the first game in the Premier League was the Old Firm derby, and it finished 2-2. So they got a point the first day of the season. They've lost to West Ham there. Is there any results? I mean, they won 1-0, 2-1. There's a draw. They've lost 1-0. So I'm not seeing any massive batterings. I mean, that's a little bit of a battering. Bruno Fernandes there putting a hat-trick past Rangers. They lost 3-0 to Tottenham just before that as well. 4-1 to Liverpool. 3-1 to Crystal Palace. It all seems to have gone downhill here in November, really, like dramatically downhill anyway. They've lost 3-0 to Aston Villa there. Come back to win a game against Southampton. But then we've just got this horrible run all around here where they've lost to Manchester United again in the cup. I mean, it's not been a good time. They're still playing 4-4-2 all the way through this. There's barely any green. There's green there. That's in the FA Cup 4th round against Fulham. And they beat Everton in the league. But the green here is few and far between. I mean, again, there's not really any massive batterings here. There's a couple, but mostly it's sort of been 1-1, 1 goal here, 1 goal there. So they haven't got battered, but they've not really done much going forward by the looks of it either. If you look at the rest of their competitions, they didn't even get to, board expectation was reaching the group stage here after the first season. They didn't even get as far as the group stage. They were knocked out in the league path, second qualifying round by Slavia Prague. They've then got the Europa League. They didn't get into that either. They were knocked out in the qualifying rounds. FA Cup, they did manage to reach the 5th round before being beaten by Brighton. And the Carabao Cup, they managed to get to the quarter-final before being knocked out by Manchester United. If we have a look here, looking at goals as well, I think this is probably where they're lacking. Although, again, Kamar Roof, he scored 17 goals last season, which isn't too bad. We've got Alfredo Morales as well, their striker talisman, scoring 13 goals, so it's not horrific, but then it kind of just drops off a cliff. I mean, I don't know why I didn't play Jermaine Defoe a bit more, because got 9 starts there and 6 goals, although apparently he started 21 times in the league. Right. 9 starts, 19 appearances sub, and 6 goals, so maybe not quite as good as return there as I thought it was going to be. Transfer-wise, I mean, if we look at their transfers for the season, they've spent 3.5 million on players, got rid of 3.6 million, so very much breaking even there. No major fees really They spent 3 million on this guy. I'm generally not sure if that's an actual real life transfer. I'm imagining that probably is. He's not done a huge amount this first season, and their most expensive player out they got £1 million for, which was Jamie Murphy. So not a fantastic season for Rangers, but let's have a look at Celtic. Now normally what I would do here is go into the editor very quickly and put myself as the manager of Celtic, but I can't do that. And the reason I can't do that is I only loaded the Premier League in, and Celtic have been relegated to the Championship, and as such I can't actually put my manager there. I have loaded in the Championship now, but right this second I can't actually do anything about it. So let's see if we can see the schedule for the squad here. They've been playing they played a 5-3-2 with a defensive midfielder and a wing back, so ultra defensive there at the start of pre-season before heading into a 4-2-3 on wide that they basically played for the entirety of the season, apart from the last day when they must have already been relegated then. Much like Rangers, looking at it though, I mean, they didn't have quite as good a start, to be honest. They got a win. They got a win there, but again, that was in the Champions League qualifying rounds. They then drew their second game in the Premier League. They won 2-0 against Forest Green Rovers in the Carabao Cup third round. They've then lost on away goals to Young Boys, so they never actually got into the Champions League. Another game in the Carabao Cup, but as of yet, look, they're in October, they've still not won a game in the Premier League. They've then drawn against that team in the group stage Europa League. They've still not won a game in the Premier League. Still not won a game in the Premier League. Here we're now into November. Nothing in the Premier League there. They've beaten 3-0 by Manchester City, as you'd probably expect. Premier League. Where is they must have won some points in the Premier League, surely. There's a win in the Premier League. They actually beat Manchester United 2-1 in the Premier League, but we are in January here. So overall, not very good, and they've got battered 4-0 there by Arsenal. I mean, what's their worst results? Let's have a look. They won a game there, 4-0 against West Ham. So they have occasionally won some games, but equally at the other end of the spectrum, we've got a 4-0 against Man United, against Arsenal. They lost 3-0 to Real Betis in the Europa League as well. 3-0 against Leicester, 3-0 against Liverpool, 3-0 against Manchester City. So they were shipping some goals, really, which is a bit of a shame, really. And unfortunately, I can't see exactly where they finished in the competitions. But yeah, overall, they haven't done very well. Now, my entire idea at the start of this was to go another 4 years after this and see how they're both doing after 5 years. Celtic are no longer in the Premier League, but if anything, that makes it more interesting. I want to see if they can dig themselves out of the Championship back into the Premier League. If Rangers can build on that, maybe get a mid-table finish before re-qualifying for the Champions League. So I'm going to simulate 4 years into the future, so I will see you in 2025. Alright guys, so it is the year 2025 and we are back to see how Celtic and Rangers have done. So without further ado, let's have a quick look at the Premier League and see how they've done over the last 4 years. There's a notable absence of Scottish clubs here, really. So where are they then? So neither of them are in the English Premier League at this point. Let's go have a quick look then. Celtic, third in Sky Bet Championship. Oh, is the final today? The final is today, so Celtic are in the playoffs. We'll go back in a minute and have a look. But first of all, we can see here Rangers have got a automatic promotion in second place behind Crystal Palace. Let's have a look how they've done over the last few years then. So yeah, we can have a look at this page. When we left them, they had just finished 17th in the Premier League. in the year 2020. They then got relegated in 18th place the season after, before getting promoted from the Championship in 3rd place the year after that, and then relegated again in 18th place the year after. They're now getting promoted, so across 5 seasons they're going to have spent the first one in the Premier League where they just survived relegation. They've got relegated twice and promoted twice. So they are very seesaw back and forth between the Premier League and the Sky Bet Championship. Let's have a quick look as well what they've sort of done in terms of transfers over the last few years. So this is the first season here. You can see they sold off £31 million worth of players. A lot of people out on loan. They've got a decent fee for this guy, Born Barsic. They've also bought in some decent players. They've spent 26 million on this guy who's no longer with them as well. So he spent a few seasons with them, and they've sold him for 66 million, which we'll probably see in a second as well. Almost 10 million Cody Gakpo from PSV. He is no longer with them either. So they've got enough that they spent 57 million though, and didn't actually survive the Premier League that season. This is then their Championship season. So they've got relegated, sold off £82 million of players, and I imagine that is a lot of players. Alfredo Morales, who was obviously their top scorer in their first season, I think, in the Premier League, if I remember, or reasonably high anyway. Yeah, there he is. He scored a lot less goals in his second season. He's then gone off to Italy and AC Milan for 40 million. But he's continued a pretty decent average rating, but not banging in a massive amount of goals for an out-and-out striker, to be honest. Yanis Hagi as well. It's also gone to AC Milan. AC Milan just coming in and absolutely robbing Rangers of all of their players when they got relegated. Yeah, we've got some decent fees in there, some not so good fees. And what have they brought in here? They brought in Nathan Redmond, who would have came over from Southampton, who are in the Championship, over to Rangers in the Championship for £20.5 million. Had a good season, got them promoted to the Premier League. A decent season, but not quite as good in the Premier League before. Then not really playing for them at all in the Championship this season after 4 appearances there. Decent rating, but again, only 4 appearances before disappearing off to Burnley for £19.5 million. They've got Callum Chambers from Arsenal as well there. So they bought him in the season. They got relegated to the Championship. He's had a pretty solid season by the looks of it as well. Played a decent amount of games for them in the Premier League. Again, not a very good average rating there, and he's now again played for them for a good bulk of the season by the looks of it in the Championship. Said Benrahma coming over to them from West Ham. Again, played the first season of the Championship, pretty decent, and then it was fairly mediocre and barely being played once they hit the Premier League. So let's have a look. The season after this is then, again, I believe, so the 23-24 season, the season just gone where they've got relegated from the Premier League. So this is the season they started in the Premier League. They've bought this guy, Dorman Campuzano. We're going to go with that. They bought him for 6 million. He's had actually a pretty decent season there in the Premier League, to be honest. Really good average rating, and a really good average rating in the Championship as well. Bought him over from Boca Juniors. That looks like a pretty good buy for them. That was their most expensive signing though, total with looking like add-ons of 6.25 million there. But Alvin Ainge, who looks like a regen for Manchester United, he's not actually played for them yet. Felix Agu over from Werder Bremen. That's a pretty mediocre season and not really played that much in the Premier League. Followed up by a decent-ish, I guess, season in the Championship. Wanderson, I guess it'd be Vanderson, who they've brought over from Brighton for 35 million. Not had a great season in the Premier League, been pretty decent in the Championship. And Diego Costa, Brazilian, who they've bought for 6.25 million. He is a centre-back. Not a fantastic season in the Premier League. Didn't play that much. Hasn't played that much in the Championship either. So I'm guessing he's very much a backup player. They also had Androin from Chelsea on loan. He's actually looked like he's been pretty good in both the Premier League and the Championship. He's been on loan with them for 2 seasons now. And this guy was on loan as well. He had a reasonable season, but not great in the Premier League. Lots and lots of players going out there, going out the opposite way. Again, pause the video and have a quick look at all of those, should you desire. And then we've got this season now, where they've spent 30.5 million on a Japanese midfielder, PP. Yeah, he hasn't had a fantastic season, to be honest. He's been okay, but nothing amazing. We've also got Tom Davies, Everton, which seems like a good purchase. He's done pretty decent, played a majority of their games in the Championship, as well as some other signings. We've got a new left back and a few other bits and bobs going on there. £114 million worth of players going out the other way though. Gustavo Asencal, who they bought on their first season in the Premier League, played pretty well all the way through for them and is played pretty well. West Ham as well. That's a big sale off their books. Nathan Redmond, that we saw bought earlier, went back over to Burnley. Lloyd Kelly, who is a centre back for them, that they bought a couple of seasons ago for 4.6 million, and they've sold him on 13.5. There's some decent profit there, really. But let's have a look at what their finances are looking like though. Finances wise, we can see they've got a budget of 55 million heading on up into the Premier League. They're actually running at a really good profit here. If you look at their projection as well going forward, that's pretty decent. They haven't got any debt either. They're looking pretty solid. The only other thing I would quite like to check is their management history all the way through this. So we're going to have a look at that quickly. So yeah, not anyone too interesting. I was looking who their current manager is. Obviously it says me at the moment because I've just put myself at the club, but I will cancel that out. Is Dejan Stankovic, who before that, I don't know if I can see, was manager mostly in Italy by the looks of it. Has managed Lazio, Inter Milan, and then whoever these guys are. Are these guys China? I don't know who that team is, but yeah, he's been around Rangers for the last couple of years. So with that, let's just go forward one day and see how Celtic do in the playoffs. Be right back. Oh, the pain. So they've lost 2-1 in the Championship playoff final to Sheffield United, which is the team they actually replaced in the Premier League at the start of this save. Karma, I guess. Let's have a quick look how Celtic have done for the last few years then. So we left them off when they just finished dead last in the Premier League. They got relegated to the Championship. They have got promoted there via the playoffs in 4th. Finished dead bottom of the Premier League again, and this season finished 6th in the Championship and have not got promoted. So we'll be sending a second season here. I'm wondering if they'll even get out at this point, because they really have not been very spectacular. 2 20th place finishes in the Premier League, getting relegated dead last both seasons that they've been in it is nothing too fantastic. Looking at their squad depth, it's very much how we left it in terms of ability. There's some players there. Yeah, Callum McGregor still there, still one of their better players, and he's actually played his socks off for these guys. He has some really good average ratings all the way through. He's obviously homegrown, definitely a Celtic player for life by the looks of it. But we'll have a quick look at their squad as well. I will just add in current ability a second, so we can have a look at that, as well as their potential. For some reason that's not in. There we go. So current ability, much like when we left, they've got 2 players at 4-star. One of them is still Callum Gregerson. Not a lot's changed there. And they've got this guy's regen, William Stafford, who is a centre-back rated at 4 stars with 5-star potential. He looks pretty decent. Nothing too awe-inspiring here so far in his last 2 seasons in the Championship. His average rating has been below a 7, but he does look like he could end up being a fairly decent player. His physicals especially are looking pretty decent there, to be honest. But their next 1, 2, 3, 4 best players are all people that are on loan at the club, so won't be there forever. They do seem to have quite a lot of people on loan, to be honest. They've got some very good potential coming up. Obviously this guy's on loan. This guy's loaned out as well, but they've got like Joe Duffy as their top prospect, who is pretty exciting centre forward here. 5-star ability. He's obviously been there. He's not played any games for the club yet. Does look like he could be quite decent coming into the future. He is only 17 currently at the moment. And let's have a look. How has this affected their transfers being in the Premier League, in the Championship for this long? If we go back to where we left them, they got relegated this season. They've had to, I say they've offloaded a lot of players. To be honest, they've actually survived pretty well, only offloading 50 million and actually spending 36 million here, which is pretty decent. They got rid of Greg Taylor, who was one of their left backs at the time. Sold him off to Watford, where again he got relegated. He got relegated with Celtic. He played 1 game in the Championship. Got sold over to Watford. Got relegated with Watford. Has gone up and stayed in the Premier League with them. But once he's in the Premier League, he's nothing too inspiring, to be honest. Kind of there, but not really doing a huge amount. Some other sales there, bringing into the club a couple of players. They had Lewis Travis here. Lewis Travis bringing in for just under 6 million. Had a bit of a shocking season there in the Premier League for them. Dominic Solanke, that's an interesting one. Currently at Nottingham Forest for them. Bought him in 4.3 million. Played 20-ish games for the club. Scored 3 goals. And left for Forest. So pretty uninspiring signing there as well. Alex Smithies came in as well, 1 million, had a pretty decent season in the Championship, played even more games for them in the Premier League, but again nothing too inspiring when they're finishing dead last, and they've sold him to Aberdeen. He's played 2 games there and not been great, to be honest, either, and nothing else too interesting going on that year. The year after, they've sold even more players off, but they're bringing in different guys. They've got this guy, Josh Timon, left back for them. He had a pretty average season in the Premier League before heading over with them to the Championship, where he was pretty solid, and there's another season in the Championship again, or at least the start of the season. We played 3 games at the start of the season and then went off to Burnley for less money than what they paid for him 2 seasons before that. We've got Cedric Kipri as well. He's obviously come in here, 9.25 million. Had a really good season. The few games he played, at least on average rating in the Premier League, and played decent amount for them in the Championship as well before trotting off on loan to Angers, which is an interesting one because he looks like he was like a pretty decent player for him. But yeah, gone off to Angers on loan. But he does still play for them. It's just an interesting one to put him over on loan at Angers when actually he played like a decent amount of games for them and looked pretty solid this season before that. And if we head over the next couple of seasons again, they've brought in some more players here. A lot of loans, as we can see again, a couple of frees. They've brought in Matt Penny there as their most expensive signing. He is their most expensive signing. He only played 7 games for them, so that was a bit of a dead season for them, but selling a lot of players out here by the looks of it. Karamoko Dembele finally leaving the club, going over to Watford for 29.5 million, and has been pretty decent there by the looks of it. It's probably a shame they lost him because he looks like he had a good couple of seasons for them as well. And in this season, they've not got promoted. They've spent 57 million. You'd think a club of their calibre would be easily getting promoted, but apparently not. Apparently Scottish clubs just don't do very well in the Premier League, in the English leagues. They've bought a goalkeeper, so this is Paul Bernardini from Angers. He's been alright, to be honest, in the Championship. Brought him over from Angers. They've gone and stole someone from Watford after selling them multiple players. Again, he's had a fairly decent season. He doesn't look too bad a player. Nothing outstanding. Neil Maupay here as well, who's there pressing forward. He scored 7 times, set up 3 assists in 18 appearances. So again, looking like a pretty decent signing, if not anything too amazing. And everyone else, there just seems to be little purchases here and there without spending lots of money. They've just kind of spent a bit of money all over the place after that original 23.5 million. Yeah, their best player, their most successful goal scorer anyway this year, being Ray Copen. Ray Copen played 28 starts, 13 goals, 2 assists, average rating of 7.4. Highest average rating, Ray Copen 7.48. So that was Callum McGregor with the most assists. So they've got some decent players in there, but yeah, they still haven't got promoted. They were 4 shy of Rangers there. And yeah, not very successful here really for Celtic overall. They've kind of sat in 3rd all the way through. I'm guessing Crystal Palace and Rangers have sat in 2nd, and they're going to stay for a 3rd season. Is this 3rd or 2nd season? 2nd season, I believe it was, in the Championship. And yeah, that's going to answer our question. How would Celtic and Rangers fare in the English Premier League? We've kind of half answered that because, to be honest, between the two of them, they haven't really spent much time in the Premier League. They've been in and out of the Championship. And I think we can safely say, well, they might be the 2 biggest clubs in Scotland when it comes to the English game. They just can't cut it. Until next time, guys, stay safe. See you soon. Bye.